Eagles. Eagles.
And welcome in, everybody, to a Monday edition of Birds 365 here on JAKIB Sports. I'm your host, Zander Krause. That's my co-host, Johnny Mack, John McMullen. Another week here on Birds 365 ahead of you guys as we inch closer now to the NFL draft and the first week of NFL free agency, which is fair to classify as the free agency frenzy period, is now officially in the rearview mirror. Johnny Mack, we continue to roll through the offseason, my friend. How you doing on this Monday morning?
Doing well. Yeah, we're firmly in wave 2 of free agency. As you kind of saw with Dallas Goedert yesterday, I think $7 million. That's it. So, that's a no-brainer for the Eagles from the perspective of the potential $20 million dead money hit that would have accelerated into this year's cap. Maybe even just as important to the players to make sure you kick that can down the road. So it was obvious, I think, they were going to get it done once they kicked the Boyd date back twice. That was an indication that, well, Howie's juggling some other balls trying to figure something out, hint AJ. And that's probably hitting the pause button on that so you can move on Dallas. All these things kind of conflate together, but Dallas Goedert's going to be back for a 9th season, I believe 6th season as the tight end 1 in Philadelphia, and you could do worse than that.
Yeah, no doubt. Johnny Mack, a good bargain price for Dallas Goedert, and also, John, the saga leading up to the contract. I mean, we talked about it a little bit on our breaking news show yesterday, and we're going to get right into it here on Birds 365 this morning on a Monday. But, man, if Philly fans don't like Dallas Goedert, I urge you to like him now because this guy is going out on a whim for the Birds, it feels like. John, what's kind of the rundown on how we got to this point with Dallas Goedert? Because I don't know if the average fan, John, will understand what Goedert did to kind of make this possible for not only him to stay here, but for the Eagles to be able to have some flexibility in what they're trying to do.
Well, I mean, look, it's pretty clear he wanted to stay here, but it's also clear to me that getting only $7 million, that his market wasn't that strong. So I don't want to go too over the top with it, but if there were a significant market, he'd be gone. As simple as that. But there wasn't, and if that's going to be the scenario, and you're debating between 1 year and $7 million here and $1 million, or $2 million more somewhere else, I think, Dallas would rather stay here. He's made a lot of money, et cetera, for that particular over his entire career. So it's the only professional home he's ever known. He's had a ton of success here. They make the playoffs every year. They've been in Super Bowls. They won a Super Bowl with them. So, that's is an extra $1 million or $2 million with, somebody who's going to win 7-8 games. Is that the same? Probably not. Even with another contender, you're going in with a new coach, a new system. You could argue he's going in with a new coach and new system here, but you get the point. A lot of familiar faces here where they wouldn't be elsewhere. So he definitely wanted to stay here, but I do think if there were 2 years somewhere else at $15 million, he would have left. I mean, he's not nuts.
Right. Man, the market probably wasn't there.
So yeah, the market clearly wasn't there, unfortunately, and that's life in the NFL. He's been a very successful player, very good player, but he's going to be 32, I believe, in January of next year. So he'll be 32 before next season ends, at the very end of next season, but still, people are hesitant, and then the blocking aspect, which really declined last season. So maybe teams are getting smarter and not getting snowed by 13 touchdowns and things like that. But for the Eagles, really good player, and $20 million, it was about $20 million more than $7 million, because that would have accelerated onto their cap this year, $20.493 million 494 would have accelerated onto the Eagles cap. That means they couldn't trade A.J. Brown, even if they'd had a deal in place, at least until after June 1st. And that's probably going to be the same either way, but it's probably an indication they wouldn't have been able to add salary. So if you talk about a potential trade for an edge rusher, you got to add salary. Well, now they can do it. If they took on that dead cap, they probably couldn't do it right
John,
now.
and is that the reason why this saga kind of, it was the Dallas Goedert deal was weird, John. It wasn't like your average free agent that took a little bit to sign with the Eagles. They kept extending back that date. They pushed back the void contract to Friday. Then they pushed it again back to Monday. Is that why that happened, John? Explain to the people kind of what went on with that deal and why that happened on the back end.
Well, it was all about that 20 plus million. And the Eagles trying to fend it off as long as possible, because if they release him, if it was supposed to be not is anything release, expiring contract, he leaves to sign somewhere else, that accelerates. So, that's on your cap. It's not going anywhere. So the key part of this was to not let the contract expire. The key part of this was extension, not re-sign, because if he just let it expire on Tuesday and the Eagles came to the same deal, well, that's on their cap, that 20 million. So that was the key. So haggling back and forth. I'm sure the Eagles were trying to go lower. I'm sure he was trying to go higher, trying to get to probably closer to what he made last year, which was 10 million. And that's what they came down with. But it's a little surprising from the standpoint of, it's quite a bit of leverage. Maybe I would have pushed harder. Because say, hey, we're gonna see what's out there. If Dallas's camp said we're gonna see what's out there and we're gonna let the contract expire, maybe the Eagles would have bumped it up a million or two. Who knows?
Yeah, maybe they
it's hard
would
to speculate what went on with the negotiations, but
yeah, no doubt. Johnny Mac, good stuff there on Dallas Goedert. He returns to the Birds in what is a very friendly contract for the Philadelphia Eagles, I would say, and really a good price for a player. John, what do you think of that tight end room now? It's taking shape. Earlier in the offseason, it almost felt like, is there any tight ends here in Philly right now? There wasn't. And now, you have Goedert under contract. Johnny Munt is the addition to the room, and they bring back Grant Calcaterra. You added some context to that on our show last night about maybe might not look like that when the season begins. But what do you make of that tight end room as it sits right now?
Well, to your point, a lot of people made a big deal. Like, one thing, same thing with the salary cap. I always say to people, has there ever been a team who's not been cap compliant in the history of the NFL? The answer is no, because they have to be. So, when you talk about New Orleans every year, or this year was Dallas and Minnesota and teams like that who are way over the cap, and everybody, what are they going to do? What are they going to do? They're going to get under the cap because you have to. When people get all in their feelings about they don't have a tight end in February, it's like they're going to have 90 players on the offseason roster because that's what you're allowed. They're going to add tight ends, and they've added tight ends back with Dallas Goedert, Grant Calcaterra, Johnny Munt. They signed from outside the organization. And I don't think they're done, by the way, because they still need a longer term plan at that position. And this is considered a pretty deep draft when it comes to the tight end position. Now, I said yesterday on X, that doesn't mean Kenyon Sadiq. I don't think they're taking him in the first round. But it does mean day 2, day 3, they're going to draft a tight end somewhere. And don't buy the Calcaterra. I'm joking because nobody's buying a Calcaterra. But they might buy a Johnny Munt jersey, considering some of the hype with him. Don't buy that yet, because if they draft a kid, even a kid like Oscar Delp, we've talked a lot about, if he gets healthy, I mean, one of those guys isn't going to be here. Most
Who do you
likely.
think has a better chance to make the team, Calcaterra or Munt?
Well, it depends what
Depends who
you
they draft, right?
draft.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right. Yeah.
I mean, if you're drafting a receiver, Johnny Munt's got a better chance. If you're drafting a blocker, Grant's got a better chance. So, like our old Harrison Bryant fan, don't get too attached to those guys just yet.
Yeah, he's still in here, our Harrison Bryant fan. JD3, hope you're doing well this morning. Speaking of everybody in JAKIB Nation, good to see everybody in the chat. Riz, Sis, Daz, Deals, Deshay, RMP, Brandon Howard. What's up, everybody? Appreciate everybody for being here this morning. Don't forget to hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. We appreciate all of you guys for showing out. Big first week of free agency here on the channel. So we do appreciate you doing that. John, what do you make of first week of free agency now with it's now in the rear view. The Eagles lost more than they gained. They picked up Tariq Woolen. They made some additions, obviously, and also brought back Dallas Goedert to close out the week yesterday, kind of the new week yesterday. But we'll put it in with week one of free agency. What's your thoughts on what the Eagles were able to do in week one or not do in week one of free agency?
Much as expected, with the exception of Jalen Phillips. Obviously, that was the priority. That was the goal. But when you hit that market and somebody says, we're going to give you $30 million, I don't think anybody looks at that and says, I don't know why the Eagles didn't go to 30 million. So it's understandable. But also got to replace the player. And they haven't replaced the player, and no, Arnold Ebiketie is not here to replace Jalen Phillips. So, still work to be done. Certainly at safety as well, losing Reed Blankenship. The emotion of losing Nakobe Dean, I understand, but that was always a fait accompli because they had the heir apparent in the building. And that'll be down to what Jahad Campbell turns into as a player. And what Nakobe continues to be in Las Vegas. And that'll be debated, I'm sure, for years, but it was understandable. Most everything was understandable. If anything, I was surprised they went as high as they did for Tariq Woolen in 1 year, 12 million. Something they didn't.
Well, my question is on that, John. You talked a lot about before free agency started that the Eagles had a budget for edge rusher, which makes sense to me. When you have a player like Jalen Phillips leave at a price you probably didn't expect him to get to, and then you sign Tariq Woolen to what I think is a pretty considerable contract for a 1 year deal. Not huge, but a good contract for Tariq Woolen. Do you think any of that came out of the budget for the edge rusher, or do you think that, like in other words, shit, we couldn't get the edge rusher, let's make sure our secondary is really good, if we're not able to land that, kind of a contingency type of thing? Does that take away from that edge budget, maybe even if it's just 27 to 18 or whatever it might be?
No, I don't think so. Because they were trying to get Trey Hendricks in. I don't know how serious they were with Max Crosby. I don't think it was too serious, and they might be trying to get Jonathan Grenard as we speak. So no, they know they have to replace that position. They just also wanted to get better at cornerback too, which I knew, but it is a little bit more than I thought they'd go. But that's the kind of players Howie like, guys who have undervalued, have huge ceilings, and if things click, they could turn into something special. So I think it was more about the player in that case than shifting gears. It was just like, this guy's undervalued because people think he's a what, and we can control him, and we can get him on the right path, and we can turn him into an all-pro level corner. And then if you have two all-pro outside corners and an all-pro slot, that's pretty good. So I think it was, and the same thing with Ebiketie from a lesser standpoint is, high upside, high ceiling guy, hasn't reached it, only 27-ish. Same thing. That's where he's kind of elevated his game this year versus last year, looking for those guys versus just All right. I'm in the clearance aisle. I'm not leaving the clearance aisle. Let me pick out the best clearance aisle item. Or at least they're in Target, the main floor, looking for the bargains rather than sticking to the clearance aisle.
Yeah, no doubt. Good stuff there. I think Tariq Woolen's going to be a good player. We have the Clips channel running, Johnny Mack, and I got some comments over there. Not that they matter all that much, but from Seahawks fans. I had like 4 or 5 check in, say, "Hey, Seahawks fan here." They commented on our segment on Tariq Woolen last week, and a lot of the comments were very similar in that the talent of the player is incredible. I mean, when he's on his game, the closeout speed, everything. He's a really talented player, and sometimes the lack of focus. He gets bored out there. Is how one guy worded. He's like, he gets bored, so he'll start to jump on balls and stuff like that. But if he's disciplined, he is a really good player. Could have been a Pro Bowl player, kind of like you mentioned. So we'll see about Tariq Woolen. I have pretty good confidence in him. I think he's going to be a good player here with Vic Fangio. We'll kind of coach some of that out of him. So we'll see what happens with Tariq Woolen. John, what's becoming a necessary daily evil on Birds 365? Okay. Where are we with A.J. Brown? I mean, I literally, John, I can't escape it. I have notifications on my phone, obviously, for you, for the big NFL guys, Ian Rappaport, Adam Schefter, some of these other guys, all right? Here we go. 2 minutes ago or 9 minutes ago, Ian Rappaport. First tweet on a Monday morning, John, is about who? It's about A.J. Brown from Good Morning Football. A future A.J. Brown trade remains a possibility, but by Dallas Goedert returning to the Eagles, it removed any time element. Brown's trade scenarios may be revisited in June. Who's that sound like, John? Sounds like what you said yesterday on our segment, our breaking news segment. Where are we on A.J. Brown, John?
I mean, nothing new other than they're working really hard to move him. So to the point of those who don't want to believe it, I mean, I don't know what to tell you, except you're going to have a bad day before September 1st somewhere. I can't tell you when, but I don't think he's going to be back. I don't think he wants to be back. And it's what I've been latching on to, the Mike Tomlin quote. People are probably tired of me hearing it, but that's where I think the Eagles are. They don't want hostages. They want volunteers. And, if somebody's that hell bent on leaving, it's better to move on. It's not about who's right, who's wrong. It's not about what's fair, what's not fair. It's about if he's here and if he's not happy and he loses focus again and you run back the same stuff. I think both sides are tired of it, and sometimes everybody's got a shelf life, and sometimes you need a reboot and a new start, and I think AJ's at that point. And I think the Eagles realize it.
John, what's the contingency that the Eagles might have in place? I saw a report come out from Bleeding Green. They just put out that the Eagles were reportedly interested in Darnell Mooney before he signed with the Giants. Now, I'm not saying that that was their plan to replace AJ, but do you think they have a plan to replace AJ, or will it be kind of maybe you look for a pseudo 2-3 guy who can kind of come in there behind Devontae Smith and give you a good, competent player. Maybe obviously not the same caliber as AJ would be, but a player like that. What do you think their contingency might be if AJ is out this summer?
Yeah, I think it's Devontae's going to be the one,
right? Yeah.
And then they're going to supplement from there. And yeah, Mooney was part of that process, and looking at a player who's been a very productive player over his career. More of a wide receiver 3, but he had 1,000-yard season in Chicago. That's why he's in with the Giants, because Matt Nagy was his coach. Had 900, almost 1,000 in Atlanta 2 years ago. Again, high volume quarterback at the time, so that helps. But the guy can produce, and it would have been an upgrade over Jahan Dotson, who ironically went to Atlanta, but a little bit older, obviously. So yeah, I mean, and I expect him to draft a receiver. talk about tight end, receivers even deeper in this particular class. Starting day 2, and you could find contributors in day 2. And I think that's how they'll go about it. They had already a 30 visit scheduled with Omar Cooper, the Indiana kid, coming off a national championship. So if you get him in the second round, well, there you go. You just need the Mooney type and Cooper and Devontae Smith. But for those thinking, well, you got to get a top 5 receiver to replace the top 5 receiver. It doesn't work like that. You're going to go about it a different way.
Well, we'll see what they end up doing with A.J. Brown. Good stuff there. I want to thank everybody for being here. We're going to talk to Jeff Kerr a little bit this morning on Birds 365. I don't want to spend too much time bogging down on A.J. Brown. Plenty to talk about when it comes to edge rusher, safety, what's next for the Philadelphia Eagles in free agency, where we are. Obviously, we're well into phase 2, as John said when we started the show today. Maybe even going to argue, John, getting close to phase 3 free agency. That might be coming soon. And we're also 6 weeks out from the NFL draft. John, I think bunch of pro days happening this week across the NFL. So it's going to be another exciting week here of the offseason. I kind of love the offseason with the draft. John, you've always said that you think the offseason is interesting. Draft, free agency, everything, all the storylines. It's good. So we'll see what ends up happening. Let's go to some super chats here, John. One from Nick Gonzalez, who also becomes a member. Nick, thanks for becoming a member, brother. He says this: if you're in New England, why would you give up anything of value knowing everyone is out of the A.J. Brown sweepstakes? Howie wants A.J. out. He's going to have to settle for what New England offers, John.
No, I don't think so. A, because they need a really good receiver. Is a really good receiver. B, the assumption that everybody's out is just assuming that, I don't believe that the Eagles were seriously considering the L.A. Rams. What happens in the NFL is people get through the draft and then they get to off season and OTAs and mini camps, and they say, "Ooh, this guy's not ready." And if they draft some, because everybody's great, you'll see that. Well, just talking about receivers, talking about Omar Cooper and whoever drafts these guys, Jacoby Lane, Concepcion, who I like, Chris Bell, Skylar Bell, throwing out names. They'll all be great. They're great. They're great. And then they get to OT and they're like, "Oh, this guy's not ready." And if you're a Super Bowl contender, and also the presumption that, teams like Denver and Baltimore won't get back into it when it's more serious and it's easier for the Eagles to move them because the cap hit after June 1st. They'll they might not get what Howie wants because Howie's always shooting to the moon, but yeah, they won't have to accept what the Patriots do. And if that's the case, Howie is stubborn and he will keep them. Probably won't work, probably be a bad decision, but he is stubborn. He did that with Zach Ertz. We're talking about Dallas Goedert. Dallas was clearly taken over. Zach wasn't happy. Was healthy. He wanted out, couldn't get the value he wanted for him, so he kept him into the season. Eventually traded him, and that's what's going to happen here. I can't tell you when, but he's eventually going to trade him. But Howie's not just going to acquiesce and say, "Here, take him."
Yeah, no, you can't just do that. That's bad business right there. So we'll see what the Eagles end up doing. John, what's next here in phase 2 for the Eagles? You obviously still have the edge rusher out there. Safety is an area as well. They lost Reed Blankenship last week. They still have Andrew Makuba. Maybe Michael Carter, John, maybe that little move that they made with Michael Carter, bringing him back, could become relevant. What do you think is next here for the Eagles in phase 2 of free agency?
Well, they're looking for a receiver, obviously. So, Christian Kirk is out there. That's a player they wanted in the past. Who knows what's left and what they think about that. But I wouldn't be surprised. You're talking about 1-year guys, of course. With the possible edge rusher is the one possible exception of they might make something splashy because they have to do something there. And it's unlikely they're going to get a difference maker with the 23rd pick in the draft, at least early on. Maybe long term you can do that, but I wouldn't bet that early on. So, yeah, they still have to do something on the edge pretty clearly.
And what do you think they do at safety?
Well, safety, I think they have more wiggle room. They obviously need to bring somebody in. But if you're gonna play Woolen as a 3-down player, that enables you to play Cooper at safety in the base defense, which is only 10% of the time. So not a lot, but you don't need that guy who's on the field and every single play. So maybe you can piecemeal it together. Maybe it's as simple as Marcus Epps and draft grouping the roster and but they have a little wiggle room there just because of Cooper DeJean's versatility. And I've always secretly thought that safety would be his best position because he can have more impact on the game there than even the slot. And that's the reason Vic keeps him in the slot, because he has more impact on the game versus being outside. Well, if he wants even more impact, move him to safety. Let Michael Carter play the slot. How about that? You got to start thinking outside the box a little bit, because that's the way Vic thinks.
Yeah, well, maybe that's what they end up doing, John. Could be interesting to see. We will find out. I want to thank everybody for being here today. Back on a Monday here on Birds 365, about 6 weeks, guys, from the NFL draft. How about that? It's going to be interesting to see what the Birds do, sitting at pick number 23 in the first round of the NFL draft. And then they're up to what, John? 9 picks total this year with the comp picks?
Yeah, they got an extra one they weren't well, I shouldn't say they weren't. All the projection people did not project them to get, but they ended up getting one for Isaiah Rodgers. So that was a 6th-round pick. So now they have a 6th-round pick. They didn't have anything after the 5th round. Now they have a 6th-round compensatory pick from Isaiah Rodgers signing elsewhere.
Good stuff there, Johnny Mac. John, we got Jeff Kerr in the room. Let's go to Jeff Kerr here on the show today. Make sure you guys give Jeff a follow at Jeff Kerr, PHL. He joins us here on a Monday edition of Birds 365. Jeff, welcome in, man. Week 1 of NFL free agency in the rearview mirror. How you doing on this Monday morning?
Yeah, it was a busy week for the Eagles there, John. Zander feels like they didn't do much, but they accomplished a lot and they lost a lot.
Well, yeah, I mean, anything surprise you with the losses, with the exception of Jalen Phillips? And I don't think you can debate that, hey, had to walk away before $30 million.
Yeah, I mean, last Monday on this show, I mean, I think all 3 of us said if Jalen Phillips, look, they want to bring him back, but look, there was a walkaway number, and I was a little concerned when it got to free agency at noon, or the legal tampering period, and he wasn't signed yet. I'm like, uh-oh, that could be trouble. And it was funny. I was actually at the post office when I saw he signed with the Panthers. I'm like, whoa, it had to be for at least $30 million, and there it was. So yeah, even the Eagles have a walkaway number, and I don't know. I'm sure you guys have talked about this, but it just felt like that was the wise move for them to make.
I don't know if it is, because I mean, that's a difficult one for me, because I like the player. I think he's very good. I think he's certainly underrated. I don't think he's worth $30 million, but they have to replace him. So until they replace him, I can't say, well, that was a good decision.
Yeah, because right now you're stuck with Jalix Hunt, Nolan Smith. You're back to where you were last year.
Yeah.
And your guy from Penn State. Don't forget your Penn State guy that they just picked up.
Yeah, look, I like Arnold Ebiketie, but they're gonna need more than him. That's just a better version of Josh Uche and Aziz Ujulari. That's really all it is.
Yeah, I mean, well, if he's your 4th edge rusher, I think that's pretty good.
Yeah, I do too, and maybe that's the plan. But I'm still kind of surprised. over Blankenship being gone. I thought that was maybe a price they match. But when I saw Cook sign for $12 million, I'm like, that might be a problem. Reed might get more than what his perceived value is, but I can't blame the guy. I mean, you take the best offer available and you take the ears, and he did that.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. You can't blame anybody for that, but the re-signing of Dallas Goedert means you kick the can down the road with the dead cap, and you don't have the $20 million hit, and all of a sudden, well, they can make a trade with AJ now that they fixed that. So I hate to bring it up, but where's your AJ meter?
You know what? Ricky Ricardo asked me this on WIP last night, and I said, my heart tells me he's gone. My head tells me that I don't think they should trade away good players, but I think they're going to be trading away a good player.
No, I'll give you guys. How about these for some numbers, guys, on why I think AJ Brown might be way off based on what he wants. All right. In the NFL in the last 4 years, there is 4 receivers who have over 5,000 passing yards. Yes. Or receiving yards, excuse me. Yes, AJ Brown is one of them. There are 6 receivers in the NFL who have 30 or more touchdowns. Yes, AJ Brown is one of them. He is also a top 5 paid wide receiver in the National Football League, and also has the 4th or 5th most guaranteed money on his contract. My question for AJ Brown is, how much better do you expect it to get somewhere else? 4 years in Philly, you're a top 5 receiver by every metric out there. He's got more than Amon-Ra St. Brown, more than Stephon Diggs, more than Devontae Adams, more than Puka Nacua, more than all these guys. He's right next to Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase, and CeeDee Lamb. I mean, AJ, I know you want the football. How much better does he think it's going to get? I don't think it gets that much better than that, boys. I really don't.
Well, can I tell you what AJ would say?
More volume. He wants more volume.
Imagine what it would be like in a high volume throwing offense if I'm able to produce like
that's
that.
Exactly what he would say.
Okay, well, how about Jamar Chase? Is that a high volume throwing offense? It would be 400 more yards.
It is, but what you talk about the two guys at the top, there's a lot of context to there. For instance, Jefferson, well, if he continued to play with Sam Darnold, what would his numbers be versus JJ McCarthy? Jamar Chase, if Joe Burrow didn't get hurt, what would his numbers be if he wasn't getting balls thrown?
But AJ's also missed how many games, John? He missed.
He hasn't missed a ton. He has missed a little bit last year, and he has, at the end when he got hurt in the Giants game and missed the playoff game. But he hasn't gotten hurt a ton. There's context to all these numbers. That's why I don't like throwing them out there. That's why I'm not a stat guy. Jeff's the stat guy.
No, I understand the context, but isn't in a blanket, isn't that a pretty impressive?
Well, I'm telling you 100% what AJ would say. Imagine what I could do. Imagine if Joe Burrow was throwing me the football. Imagine if Sam Darnold. Imagine if Jared Goff. You don't even have to
Matthew Stafford is the number or the quarterback they like.
Oh my God.
Everybody loves to imagine, but sometimes you can't imagine. You live in reality. Well, you're not going to have a perfect quarterback all 17 games. You're not going. Not everything. Look at Jamar Chase. Can he say the same thing? Well, imagine what I'd have if Joe Burrow was healthy the whole time. Well, he wasn't.
You saw how the guy reacted to winning the Super Bowl. It was like
it wasn't good. His Instagram post wasn't crazy either, and I got some good photos of AJ that night they won, but he wasn't celebrating like the rest of them.
He was very honest. He was like he was told all year, all his life, not all year, all his life that, oh, it's going to be so great to win the Super Bowl. And he was like, all right, we won it. That's it. Let's get back to work. He's worried about his legacy and where he's going to be and reaching his potential as a player in the Hall of Fame and all that kind of stuff. Now
which is weird because he could still do all that here.
He could, but I think when you're that good, and you're that focused, and you're that, you're like, well, this is bullshit, because we could be doing this, and I think that's his struggle. I think driven people are driven. You don't say, hey, don't be driven, but don't be that driven. it doesn't work that way with people
Yeah,
who
but
are
you,
just like
but you
super,
have to
super
live. I
upset.
mean, then AJ should have went into something where he can just be a lone operator. Then I mean,
Well,
you play football, dude.
that's all. I'm just saying. I think you guys are dismissing his mentality and the fact that, like, you're talking about how normal people think, and I agree with you, but he's not normal.
No, like what you said, John. If he thinks he can be better than what he is, he's going to try to do that. But if that's holding him back, then maybe it's time to part ways. But
And by the way, I'm not even saying it's going to work for him because I don't think it is going to work for him, and I don't think
it
he's going
is
to be
either.
happy. But just like he wasn't happy, and eventually he'll have a honeymoon period. But because of who he is and what and there's good to it and there's bad to it, and the bad to it is it's eventually going to sour no matter where he goes. Same as here, because he's not going to have better success than he had here. The odds are certainly from a team standpoint. And that'll beat him down too.
Yeah, I've had a coach say this to me 20 years ago, and I still repeat it. Unhappy people are never happy.
It's truth, Jeff. I said that before. I don't think AJ is ever going to be happy, and that's all right. I mean, look, some people who strive for greatness, they're not happy. They're not happy people. Yeah. I understand it. I really do. But I don't think it's getting any better for AJ Brown. I mean, he can say, "Well, what if?" I don't think it's getting any better.
Yeah,
really and you would think, by the way, I never even gave you guys the team accolades. You would think the team accolades would push it a little bit. Maybe not. I get it. Players don't care as much about team accolades maybe as they do about their individual, but you would think it would push them a little bit. It does.
That's one of those situations, Zander. You kind of sometimes need to just look in the mirror or do what you got to do your own self-reflection and say, you know what? I got pretty good here. Do I really want to leave this? Like we all say that with jobs, with anything in life. Yeah, I got pretty good. Like, is it really going to be better?
I don't see it getting much better.
You know what it all comes down to? He wants the fucking football to come out.
Yeah. And if he don't believe the quarterback or the offense can get him the football, doesn't matter.
Yeah.
The problem is, look, I do think he's a team guy, but there's a lot of me in him. And there is a me in team. And if he believes that can help the team win, that's what he's going to believe. I don't have a problem with him thinking that, but it just looks really bad when your actions are speaking louder than your words.
Well, I think you'll have that period where everybody hates him, and then they'll realize how good he was, and eventually.
Oh yeah, I'm not going to do
that. That's how I am. I'm like, you guys sure you want this guy going? Because I like good football players, and he's a really good football player.
He is. I will not deny that. I just don't think he's. I just don't. I'd like to see him stick in Philly and just.
I think a lot of people would. Yeah. And I just think people can't wait for this to be over. I had someone say last week to me, "Oh, you can't go one day without talking about it." I'm like, I went like 3 months without talking about it.
I hate.
Yeah, people say that. I'm like, dude, I cover the NFL. We cover the NFL. We're an NFL show. It's all over everything because there is real conversation here. That's such a
choose the content you want to consume. That's what I like to tell people. Yeah. If you want to listen to AJ Brown every day, that's up to you. You're not going to hear from the same person.
Yeah, and unfortunately, we're going to continue to talk about it until it happens, and I do think it is going to happen. I don't think he's going to be here week 1. I'm 80-20 now out.
I think where the frustrations are going to lie with this whole thing is if it does drag into May and June, and he's not at minicamp, and he's not at this, and he's still around in July, which I'm hoping there's a resolution by then, but.
Yeah, that's going to be interesting, though, that part of it, because AJ's always at off-season stuff. I mean, always. So if he doesn't show up, that's going to be a story. And I'm talking about the voluntary stuff, not mandatory. I mean, obviously mandatory would be, but he's always there. He was there at rookie camp last year.
Yeah.
Just hanging out. So that's going to be a bit of a story. if it continues to reach that. And that'll be interesting because he's obsessed with working. He'll just go work out somewhere else, I assume. But that part will be interesting. And the 20% part of it is, look, the longer it goes, the more time you have to everybody come to their senses and maybe listen to what Zander was saying there. Well, look, it's been pretty good. Maybe it could be worse. Let's run it back. But I just don't see it happening. And if it does happen, I think the same thing's going to happen in the season.
Yeah, he'll be frustrated, and then we'll be having this conversation again. And I always said these years with T.O., and T.O. was with the 49ers a lot longer, right? He was there 7-8 years, but after he left San Fran, well, he wasn't happy in Philly for whatever reason. You can blame whoever, but then he wasn't happy in Dallas, and then he wasn't happy in Cincinnati, and then he wasn't happy in Buffalo, and eventually he was out. And like, hey, AJ, you were in Tennessee for 3 years, you weren't happy. You're in Philly for 4 years, not happy. What's it going to be the next team? 3 years, and then you're not happy? You're gonna go to New England, then you're gonna realize, oh, this team really isn't that good.
I mean, guys, remember, I also don't want to deny my eyeballs. AJ Brown's a great football player. Looks like he took a step back last year, did it not?
Yeah.
I thought he did.
And the question is that the knee, the hamstring, or is it, the lack of focus, the frustration? The worst part of it is declining physically. Then it happens to everybody. And that knee's been an issue for a couple of years now. So, he didn't play as well as he had in the past, like everybody else. Everybody on the offense.
Yeah, that's what I get so frustrated last year. People were saying about this talented offense. I'm like, we sure they're that talented?
Yeah, reputation-wise, I've been talking about that for months. Reputation-wise, everybody, they get paid the most. Well,
yeah, John, you've been on that one.
Yeah.
They're not playing like it. They're not playing like their reputation. That's all that matters. So, and that was everybody, with the exception of Devontae Smith, who I think maintained. I don't think he got better, but I don't think he got worse. Everybody else on the offense, and Tyler Steen. I didn't count Tyler Steen because he was a first-year starter. Everybody else declined from what they were previously. Everybody else.
So AJ is going to be 29 on June 30th. I'd be curious to look up numbers, and I'd have to go through a chart of receivers' performance after 29. I mean, we could play Jerry Rice, we could play Tim Brown, but what about current receivers? That's what the current superstars, like, when did they fall off? And if the Eagles believe that we might have gotten the best of them, he's definitely gone.
Well, and by the way, I think you have seen the best of them.
I think so too.
Yeah.
I think last year might have been of the 4 years, last year was definitely the worst.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. But it was all Kevin Patullo's fault.
Yeah, I wasn't where Kevin,
in Miami. He's having a good time.
Yeah, I wasn't where Kevin Patullo could catch the football.
Or throw it, or run it, or block. But I digress. Yeah.
What'd you guys make of the Jalen Hurts comment to Zach Berman on Sean Mannion? I thought a little bit of tact from Jalen Hurts. I'm sure he knows that clip of him in the locker room talking about Patullo was shared far and wide. And I think he gave Berman, he's amazing. What was the word he used?
Remember he said, John and I were there that day. I always say it's different when you're talking to one person compared to when you're talking to a full group with cameras and everything like that, because you are trying to think about what you're going to say before you say so. And like, he was thinking about Kevin, like, oh, this is going to be a different role, right? But when you're there one-on-one with somebody, it's a lot different.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. Yeah. Most people are much less guarded if they're just talking one-on-one versus, the whole town is in front of you with microphones shoved in your face. And
someone trying to shove their way in just to make sure they can get a question in.
Yeah. Don't get me started about that. But I didn't put much stock in his comments about KP, and I don't put much stock in his comments about Sean, only because, it's just.
Now, if I remember correctly, John, when Jalen said those comments about KP was not the offensive coordinator yet.
Was he or wasn't he? I forget.
Wasn't that locker clean out day after the Super
That was
Bowl?
clean out day. Yeah. When did they hire? When did they? But I guess they had to go through the hoops. Everybody knew he was going to be there.
Yeah, I'm sure Jalen knew, but like he also just can't say, "Oh, he's the offensive coordinator."
Yeah. Yeah, I think people blew that out of proportion, and he hasn't. I think a lot of people. I know a lot of people because I tweeted out some pictures from the guys they introduced last week, and I got a bunch of, oh, it's so great they're in the facility already, and I'm like, hey, guys, they're not allowed to be in the facility. They're signing their contracts. Now they can go work out at the gym and stuff, but they can't have contact with the coaching staff. All this is strictly collectively bargained. Yeah. Jalen Hurts isn't sitting there every day with Sean Mannion thinking about the offense. It's not the time for that.
Yeah, this isn't like Jason Kelce where you can just walk in and walk out because he's retired.
Yeah. Well, again, you can if you just want to go get a workout or something of that nature. But, they have cameras all over the place, strict NFLPA rules. If you're, teams will get fined hundreds of thousands. All this is collectively bargained to the hilt. And nobody's doing any football work right now. Well, the coaches are, but, they don't get to work with the players yet. And that's part of the problem and why the product isn't as good as it once was, but I digress. Also, there's a give and take, and that's why the NFLPA is work so hard for these quality of life issues because, you give somebody an inch and they take a mile. Well, we got to do this. We got to work with the quarterback the day after, and then nobody gets a break, and that hurts as well. So it's a give and take, but they don't get a lot of time with these guys is what I'm trying to say.
And that, to your point, John, like you said about the inch mile phrase, say you would let them talk to the coach. They would be there every single day, and there wouldn't really be an off season.
Exactly.
So I just look at it as it's like a mandatory, take your break. It's like trying to tell someone who works hard, take 2 months. You have to take it. You can do what you want, but you have to take the 2 months.
And hey, when we go to 18 games, I'm convinced there will be no offseason. There will be no OTAs. There will be no mini camp.
Yeah, I'm convinced on that too. I'm convinced there's going to be
a week earlier, and they'll do it that way.
I'm convinced there's going to be a football game every night when we go to 18 games, and I'm not gonna like it.
No, that's gonna.
You know what, John? I was told real football fans will watch that game on Thanksgiving Eve. I said, guess what? There are some nights I just don't want to watch football. Ever think of that?
I would not. Yeah, I mean, boy, who would have the toughest job? The schedule maker, trying to juggle that bullshit, the different days. And could you imagine Tuesday games at the, already Thursday?
I mean, look, when they added the Black Friday game, it made sense because it's promoting Amazon. That's your new broadcast partner. Okay. I understood the concept. I thought they got greedy with Christmas. Oh, by the way, the NBA had a great night on Thanksgiving Eve last year. So the NFL said, we're going to take that from you too. That's how it rolls. And like next year, we're going to have a game on Christmas Eve. We're going to have games on Christmas. Christmas on Friday. So we're probably going to have a game on Saturday. Probably going to have a games on Sunday. Whatever happened to Sunday football? Did we lose it?
Sunday, 1:00 football, best thing in the world.
Best
thing in the world. But, TV runs the world. Their son in the biggest checks. And now I have dad streaming. So they get what they want. TV, broadcaster, streaming platforms, they pay the money. So they get what they want. Simple as that.
I still get upset with the streaming. This is someone who used to work at one of the big networks. I'm okay with Netflix and YouTube joining in on this. Make a professional production and hire your own people. you really want to play hardball with the CBSs and the NBCs and the
Well,
Disneys
they
of
give
the
them
world.
time, Jeff. They'll get there, man.
Yeah. Well,
remember
have
part
it
of it was
now.
part
Have
of
it
it was
now.
buying in, though. Buying
Yeah.
in is one thing, and where you start is not where you end up.
Well,
So.
here's one I've always said. When you see those things from Forbes or Front Office Sports, you'll see the top 50 most powerful people in sports, and it's always Roger Goodell, and it's always
Bezos,
Adam Silver. Yeah, it should be the TV executives. That's who it should be. Who's ever running Fox Sports at the time, who's ever running
the David Ellisons of the world, those types of people.
Yeah, because they
Michael Eisner.
They have the most power. They have the most power. People aren't
Guys, the people who cut the checks often do. That's how it goes in life,
Exactly.
And what's crazy is that we're going to get more TV deals because CBS is going to re-up. Because the NFL has that like clause in their contract because they merged. Oh, we can redo your contract or we can get rid of your contract. Well, no, we're just going to redo, and then we're going to put the pressure on everybody else. And then that's going to open up more packages of games. And this is why we're going to 18 games.
At some point, they're going to run out of money. I've been predicting that for years, though. It doesn't seem to happen.
Yeah, or the bubble's going to burst. It happens with every sport. Will it happen with the NFL?
It's got to. It's got to.
You would think, right?
These streaming companies, they don't make money. I don't know. It's all Howie Roseman bookkeeping. They don't make money.
I mean, John, you were around 40, 50 years ago. Did you ever think baseball would get surpassed as the most popular sport in this country?
No, not when I was young. How laughable is that?
Yeah, right.
Younger people don't understand. I mean, baseball was king. I mean, king. I mean, to think it can't happen, it can. And now baseball made a ton of mistakes with the strikes and everything, but
steroid era and everything else. It's
but maybe they should bring back the steroid era. Based on where the numbers
I just think they do a bad job at marketing their superstars. Like, look, Aaron Judge is phenomenal. He is not as big globally as he should be.
Oh, not even close, dude.
I love watching Aaron Judge play.
Yeah. Well, baseball's not a global sport. I mean, basketball's a global sport. Football's not a global sport.
They're trying to make it one.
Yeah, nobody. Well, I say it all the time. Nobody knows what the fuck they're watching outside the country with football. Basketball is easily digestible. So always, when, Michael Jordan, LeBron, Kobe, those guys, they were always the most popular from a global standpoint, sports stars, even though the NFL is, way above the NBA in the US, they're so popular worldwide. And the NFL isn't, because people, it's a uniquely American sport. I say it all the time. You have to be indoctrinated into professional football to understand it. Think about it.
But most people are. I mean, I mean, you go to an average household.
I'm saying if you grew up in Australia, pick anywhere.
Right.
Yeah. Pick Melbourne, for example. Yeah, you're probably watching rugby, tennis, baseball,
soccer.
Yeah, soccer.
Which they would call football. Which is obviously the most popular sport worldwide.
Well, think of this, Zander. Like, how old are you now?
27.
What got you into football?
I grew up around football, man.
I've been watching football
my whole life.
Indoctrinated.
Exactly. That's the answer, right? I grew up around it. It's my dad.
We're all indoctrinated.
My dad got me mad in '93 for.
My dad's like you guys, though. He is a baseball guy. My dad absolutely loves.
Well, I hate baseball now.
I love baseball. To your point about earlier, how baseball was, that was my dad too. He loved baseball.
Honestly, I love baseball, but man, when people want to argue baseball with you, everything's absolutes. It's worse than football.
I don't know if I don't know if anything's different. I really don't. People are just people are just
politics, football, basketball. It doesn't matter. Yeah.
Like I was telling people last night, the World Baseball Classic game, the controversial strike 3 call. Everybody's blaming that and how bad the ump was. I'm like, yes, the ump was consistently bad. Don't you want them consistently bad instead of inconsistently bad?
Yeah, nothing bothers me more than the constant harping on officials. And I talk about it all the time. I don't try not to talk about officials in the NFL. Baseball is even worse because you got 162 of these fucking things, and these idiots on our strike was every.
Yeah.
My God.
Oh, by the way, they're using a computer strike zone. I'm like, yeah, but that's not his box. You ever think of that? Stand behind the plate and you tell me what a ball and strike is. I've done it. It's not easy.
I mean, it's like, why do you even ingest the games if you're going to be that miserable from pitch to pitch?
Oh, I can't be. I just take it with a grain of salt and move on to the next at bat.
You pretty much have to. Human error. It's part of life.
Yeah, it's the part in sports where you just, especially in baseball, you fail so much more than you succeed.
Yeah. You failed 7 times out of 10, you're a Hall of Fame player in baseball.
Yeah. I remember the 1 year Kyle Schwarber hit like 46 home runs and 100. I think he had like 110 RBIs. Everybody's like, "Oh, what a great season!" I said he hit 196. Wasn't that great of a season?
John, that's such a great analogy though in life, man. Like what you just said. You can fail 7 out of 10 times and you're a Hall of Famer.
It is.
It's not perfect comp for all of life, but I often say that, if you're not ready to fail in some areas, then you're just going to be miserable because you're going to fail. There's going to be moments where you fail.
Yeah, you're always going to fail.
You better be ready for it. Yep.
Yeah. The goal is to learn from it, grow from it, get better from it. And that's when you talk to athletes all the time. That's why they talk about the process all the time over results. Like, I think a lot of fans can't understand that. And to be honest, when I first started covering sports many years ago, I didn't understand it. And now I'm like, why do you guys not get this?
Yeah.
It's like everything you do has to be the process because you can't, you're gonna fail. You're gonna fail. So if you're an athlete and you take every failure to heart, I mean, you're going to be mentally broken by 6 months into your rookie season. That's why you try to focus on the process, and that's why they all the cliches, which I get, are become boring. Day at a time, get better today, get 1% better, week to week. Don't Nick Sirianni, it bothers me so much because, you have a limited amount of time with these people. And when somebody asks a question about something 3 weeks down the road, I just want to strangle them because you just wasted a minute of him saying 1 day at a time, 1 week at a time. We're not thinking about that, blah, blah, blah. He's not going to defer to that. And most people think he does it just because he doesn't want to. No, that's what he does. That's truly what he believes.
He lives in that day.
And it's truly what he believes. Like, he's not thinking about the fucking Super Bowl next year. He's trying to figure out, the logistics of camp. How do we get better? How do we install the Sean Mannion offense? And he's going to get Super Bowl contender.
Yeah. What are we doing in mini camp to make sure we're better? How are we going to up the Dallas Cowboys, the New York Giants, and the Washington Commanders on May 2nd? Or I'm just picking the day.
And when you have these devastating defeats or these devastating moments, I mean, how do you bounce back from them if you take them so emotionally? Well, you can't. That's why they don't.
Move on. Yeah, yep. I'm sure everybody in that building's thinking, they've done the process. Okay, what? And they know what went wrong, but what went wrong? What went wrong, and how can we fix it?
Yep, no doubt. Jeff, after last week 1 of NFL free agents, just get back to it real quick on that. Do you feel like the Eagles' stranglehold on feels like, Jeff, and I'm just speaking for me, I don't want to speak for you, but it feels like the last 4 years the Philadelphia Eagles have had this, I don't know if aura, I hate that word aura because it's so popular, but I feel like it's
Yeah.
fitting here. They have that feel about them where they've just been, they're going to be a good team. How good you'll yet to see, but they're probably going to top their division. They're going to be one of the great teams. I feel like we've all had that feeling, including people who are reporting on the team and aren't fans of the team. Feels like that's been evident. Do you feel like that grip is loosening? Do you feel like it's changing? Where do you think the Eagles are this offseason as opposed to where they've been in previous off seasons?
I mean, I still think they're a good team. I still think they're one of the better teams in the NFC. You just got to look at the talent around you. Jalen Hurts is still good. Saquon Barkley is still good. Maybe the last year you have him. Devontae Smith's still good. Dallas Goedert's back. You have to assume that O-line is going to be better than what they were last year, because last year I think it took people till like week 13, week 14 to realize that the offensive line was just not as good as years past. Look, the defense, you got Quinyon Mitchell, you got Cooper DeJean. They need a pass rusher, obviously. They have holes, but you're looking at the Jalen Carrs, the Jordan Davises, Nakobe Dean's not here. See, I'm already still thinking he's here. Zach Bond. But you signed Reek Woolen. I thought that was a good sign, by the way, for them. I'm excited to see year 2 of Andrew Bakuba, but the draft has kept this team at the high level, and they're paying guys in the upper echelon of their positions. I still think it's a talented team. I still think it's a very good team. It's just weird because you don't win the Super Bowl on the first day of free agency, and I think New York has failed a lot of people on that. And the Eagles in an extent, because they signed Saquon Barkley the year before, and they won the Super Bowl.
Well, yeah, I mean, but Howie's pretty honest. He said, this is going to be a retention off season. This is, not a lot of big splashes. Re-signing your own guys, and that's the whole thing. Basically, draft well, re-sign as many as your players as you can, and supplement in free agency. So I do think the supplements in free agency made some sense. You mentioned Reek Woolen. Johnny Munt, you needed a blocking tight end. Yeah, you got a blocking tight end.
That was a good signing. They had a good Thursday, by the way. Or what day did they say? I guess it was Tuesday. Yeah, Tuesday. They got these guys.
Jonathan Jones, veteran guy. I think they're trying to replicate what they had with Isaiah Rodgers. A little bit older, a little bit atypical, but you need that cornerback 3. And then your guy, Temple people can
claim him.
Arnold Ebiketie. You can claim him as a Penn State guy, but I think he's a good value signing. And then the only loss I think that resonates is Phillips, although to me Reed Blankenship does, because I think he was affordable, but obviously they just didn't want to go in that direction. They tried to get Darnell Mooney, which was interesting. Weren't able to get him. So they're trying to find these one-year guys with upside. And they get Dallas Goedert back. So has it really been that bad with the exception of Jalen Phillips?
No, I don't think so. And I would like to see Reed back, but I'm sure they have a plan there. I mean, you can always put Cooper DeJean in base, especially now that you got Woolen and Jones at corner with Mitchell. Exactly. So there's a way you can maneuver that. Vic's always interchanging parts anyway. John, doesn't it seem like at least both you guys that they're going to at least draft the safety high again?
I don't know. I mean, dude, they need an offensive lineman. They need a tight end for the future. They need a wide receiver for the future. I mean, I don't know if they draft a safety in the top 3 picks.
I threw this out earlier, so I'll throw it out to you. Now that you have Woolen, well, in theory, Cooper DeJean doesn't have to play outside on base downs. Then he could play safety. I've often thought that his best position long-term would be safety because
I said that too.
Because he can have more impact on the game from the safety position. What about playing Cooper DeJean at safety and Michael Carter in the slot?
Yeah.
You brought him
And,
back.
Oh, and by the way, he's on the Cooper DeJean be on the field at all times. Isn't that the
Exactly.
goal?
Exactly. Well, he
That's-
was last year, but the point was they played him outside at corner. They could still do that. And
I still laugh. Like I said, when Cooper DeJean was in college, this was way before he got drafted by the Eagles. I said, "Hey, this guy could be an all-pro safety in the NFL." And he ended up being an all-pro, just a different position.
Be an all-pro anything.
Yeah, I agree with you, John. Like, maybe the answer is staring right at him.
I just think throw it in the hat. I think there's a good chance he plays safety on base downs, which aren't a lot. Again, 10, maybe 10, 15% of the time at most.
What did Vic say last year? What was it? We played the 160 snaps in base.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, basically 10 a week. So not a lot, but otherwise you do have to find out a safety. I love that kid from Oregon, by the way. He's one of my favorite players. He's one of my favorite players in the draft. I don't know if he'll be there 23, but I don't think they're taking a defensive player. They have to repopulate this offense.
Yeah, they've really gone heavy on defense the last couple drafts, so I would expect them to flip it.
Dylan Thieneman, that's my guy. Now, I'm not talking. My guys are Caleb Downs and Jeremiah Love, but that's at the top of those are the blue chip players. But if you're talking Eaglesy range, Dylan Thieneman is a great player, but I don't think that they would take a safety. They've never taken a safety in the first round, ever.
Yeah. That's the one position. Of course, we never thought they'd take a linebacker in the first round either. Right?
Yeah, I don't know. I still don't know if he did.
Yeah. Is he a linebacker? Is he a edge? I don't know.
I think Howie thought he was an edge rusher. He's a linebacker now, but I think Howie might have thought he was an edge rusher.
Yeah.
But we'll never know. We'll never know.
His rookie year is something that I'm gonna have to reevaluate. It's just. I don't know. I don't think they knew what to do with him.
Well, they did in the first 6 games. Play him an all-pro linebacker. He's going to be defensive rookie of the year. And then
Nakobe came back.
Yeah.
And they had no idea what to do with him.
No.
He was just there.
No. But they didn't know if Nakobe was ever going to be healthy again. So they drafted him with the uncertainty looming of Nakobe Dean. So what has free agency done in the draft when you start? Has it shifted anything for you?
I think I asked the one question with the safety. Maybe they addressed that, but I'm with you guys. Like, I think they gotta go offense. I think they gotta.
What about edge rusher though?
Well, they need that too. Maybe they somehow can get Jonathan Grenard. By the way, that market is very scarce right now. First wave's done, so.
Yeah, they're not going to get anybody.
Yeah.
On the free agent market at this.
Technically the bold prediction is still alive, although he ain't going anywhere now.
Yeah, Max, it is still alive. How about that? What do you think of Baltimore there, Jeff?
I think they wanted to get Trey Hendrickson and they realized they could.
I think
they can lie. They can lie all they want.
Feet. They just got cold feet and said, told the doctors to say, the knee's not great, which it probably isn't.
It's just crazy. They flew him in there that day, and I'm like, oh, okay, he's gonna sign the paperwork. Everything's gonna be good. Nope.
I think they figured out. Oh, Trey Hendrickson's still out there. We can get him for $25 million and not give up 2 first-round picks.
Yeah,
that's what I think happened.
And now the Raiders they're probably bummed they didn't get the first-round picks, but they signed a bunch of good players on defense with their cap space, and they can still afford Max Crosby because they had $100 million in cap space.
Yeah.
I still think that was a huge wrench for them, even if they can afford them, man. They thought they were getting 2 first-round picks back. That'll change your strategy, Jeff, pretty quick in free agency, man.
Yeah,
and now they don't have them. I mean,
again, that's why we always say agreed to terms, because it's stuff like – and Frank Gore taught me about agreed to terms.
Yes, that's right.
Yes, it's very important to say agreed to terms, which you often do not see.
Did you see our buddy Rob Motti put out his interview with Frank Gore from a couple years ago?
I did. I meant to go back to it. I didn't want.
It was awesome. like Gore's pretty much like, yeah, Nick Foles and all that. They were convinced me to come here, and I was all ready to go. And then they trade Nick Foles, and I'm like, do I really want to be here? Is this really going to give me a chance to go to Super Bowl? And then he saw the Colts were interested, and yep. He said they were in the AFC Championship game the year before. He goes, I wasn't sure what the Eagles were going to do.
It's happened. It's happened quite a bit over the years. Guys change their minds. Usually, it's players changing their minds. Usually, I would say one or two every couple years do it.
Ravens are always in this mix of like signings or trades. Like I remember the Michael Brockers thing they backed off on.
Yeah,
obviously
Michael Brockers is one. Anthony Barr was a big one.
Anthony Barr was a bit. T.O. Well, T.O. I guess said I'm not going there.
Yeah, so there have been examples, not that high profile though, with two first-round picks and multiple teams shifting gears.
If I remember T.O. correctly, I don't want to put words in his mouth, but I think I remember him saying something along the lines of, I literally want to get away from Jeff Garcia and you're sending me to go catch balls from Chris Redman.
Yeah, T.O.'s a handful, man. Oof, Jesus. I mean,
you could know that as opening press conference, and Andy Reid said his name wrong. It's Terrell, or it's Terrell. I forget how he did it. Correct.
Didn't Bill Parcells call him she once? I don't know.
Yeah, he did. T.O. and Bill Parcells, that marriage was not meant to last.
Good times.
I missed it. I missed T.O. I just thought he was. You didn't know what you were getting.
Jeff, I got a question for you. Speaking of T.O., and John's going to like this one. John said a couple of weeks ago, I don't want to speak for John, but John, you want to clarify exactly what you said about A.J. Brown as it compares to
I said, well, first of all, I said A.J.'s the best receiver in Eagles history.
Which I agree with. T.O.'s
I would agree.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Now, and for the people that want to argue Mike Quick or Harold Carmichael, Tommy McDonald, I get that because of longevity and
their Hall of Fame status.
Yeah, for people want to argue T.O., I'm like, what are you talking about?
Barely here.
He was here for 1 year. He, obviously it's all reputation based. He's all Hall of Fame. You're a stat guy. As anybody, this is what I brought up. Everybody forgets. Has any high level receiver ever dropped the football as much as Terrell Owens?
He always dropped the football.
Anybody. In the catch 2 game, he dropped like 4 balls. Remember, they had to console him.
Yeah.
On the sidelines. One of the most famous, probably the most famous catch of his career.
Yeah. He dropped 2 and they were easy ones.
Yeah.
I remember when he was with the Eagles, McNabb threw him a slant and it was an easy touchdown. Like if you look at an early version of All 22, he was gone. And this is how much his personality changed. He dropped it, clapped his hands, and said to Donovan, just let's go back to that. And then I think he had like a 30-yard gain on the next play.
Yeah.
But that was when things were good.
Explosive. Yeah. Tremendously explosive. His first year in Dallas, which I'll never forget, 17 drops. 17 drops. I got to cover Chris Carter in the prime of his career. I don't think he dropped 17 balls in his life.
Well, all Chris Carter did was catch touchdowns, John.
He didn't drop practice balls. He didn't drop balls.
Well, he might have dropped stuff with the Eagles, but that was with the Eagles, not with the Vikings.
I don't think he did with the Eagles either.
He
did not drop the football. But he ranked in top 4 in drops in the NFL 8 different times. 8 different times.
He dropped it a lot. And I think it was the game when they came back, when Dallas came to face the Eagles the first time. I remember hearing it was like that sound effects show. He dropped like 2 passes and Dawkins was coming this way. Dawkins goes, he's going to drop it. Like those guys knew.
Yeah.
because they were ready to hit him.
I mean, yeah, it's one of my pet peeves. It's like, and I get it. He's a tremendous big play guy. I'm not arguing he was a great receiver, but he was a certain style of receiver, and he wasn't the guy who was. You shouldn't be in the conversation with Jerry Rice and Randy Moss. And too many people put him in that conversation.
He is in that conversation because of his numbers, though. His numbers are up there.
Well, then that's it. That's it.
Yeah.
And I you mentioned how many years did he play? How many teams did he play for?
Yeah.
You know, look, I don't care about the volume. You know, and even so, like somebody like Tim Brown, who's a great receiver, has volume as well. And people don't put him in that category. He's a Hall of Famer, but they don't put him in that category, that rarefied air.
I always say, like,
he
hey,
doesn't belong, and this is not an insult. He doesn't belong with Jerry Rice and Randy Moss. That's all I'm saying.
I think if we're going by their peaks, like their best football, Randy clearly is better. If Jerry clearly is better.
Oh, I mean, Jerry.
But
honestly, Randy doesn't belong in Jerry's status. Jerry's
no. You know what's weird about Randy? Like, he got the 32 and he was like done. Like, it was so weird. I thought he'd be that. I thought he'd be like T.O., like he'd be in his mid-30s and just still be good because he's Randy Moss. But never really.
Well, I think football changed a little bit too, and they don't want, like, Jerry played into his 40s. Like, nobody's playing in their 40s now at wide receiver. They just won't allow it. But yeah, I mean, that's all I said, and people got all butthurt about it. And he was here for like a year. I don't know why Eagles fans have glommed on to him.
I don't understand how they won all those years with Donovan, and they love to blame Donovan for everything. But it's a lot of it's him, T.O. too. Like, the only thing I blame Donovan for is not going to bat for his receiver, but his receiver's the one who signed the stupid contract where the Eagles could take advantage of him.
Yeah. Anyway, but I maintain, and I'm very clear. All due respect to the Tommy McDonald's and Harold Carmichaels and Mike Quicks, A.J. Brown is the best receiver the Eagles have ever had.
You're not a PP host guy there, John McMullen?
Ray Didinger would be proud of you, Jeff Kerr. Ray Didinger would be proud of you.
I mean, the guy literally caught the football like this. I don't know how that's one question in life I'd love to ask somebody. How do you catch a football like that?
Now, how do you guys think AJ fits with the Sean Mannion offense in Philly?
I think he could fit in any offense, but
no, but explicitly this one. Do you think this will give AJ an opportunity to catch the ball more often?
No,
I
don't.
I still say if he goes to the Patriots, it's long term, it's not going to be viable for him. I think he's just going to be frustrated. He might be even more frustrated when it's back to what it was in Tennessee. And I think Josh McDaniels is. There are some people that should be coordinators, as John McMullen has heard me say multiple times, and he's one of them. But what's going to happen to AJ when, like, after this honeymoon phase, like he said, and we're in game 15?
He's not going to like playing with Drake May.
No, he's not.
Except for the deep balls. He's got a long way to go with everything else. He well, I think everybody.
I almost think he'd be better off in a place like Denver.
He wants to go play with. Boy, that Rams thing, that would have been perfect for him.
Oh yeah. That's his dream.
I can't. I mean, I can't imagine Howie Roseman trading AJ Brown to the LA Rams.
Me neither.
No,
but 13th overall pick, John, gets real enticing when you got problems to fix on your team, like a future, replacing Lane Johnson, some of the edge rusher.
You know who would entice me? Jared Verse. That would entice me.
I said that, Jeff. It's so funny you said. I said the same thing.
I joked. I'm like, I'll take Jared Verse for him.
You might have to send AJ and a pick to get Jared Verse.
Which is fine. I would do that.
Can you imagine them in the playoffs and AJ's going, boy. I wouldn't do it. That's like a Cowboy.
Can you imagine, like, if Cooper DeJean just put a boomstick on him. This Cooper DeJean can already do no wrong here.
Well, you're thinking of the positive. I'm thinking of the negative because
I know, but
I'm thinking about 3 touchdowns in the NFC Championship game. That's what I'm thinking about.
I still to this day say Reggie Bush has not been the same player since Sheldon Brown laid him out.
Well, you were allowed to hit people back then. You're not allowed to hit people now. So
you're not allowed to do anything now. It's a sport that relies more on fantasy football and gambling than it actually does why we got into this.
Oh yeah, it's not the same. And if you do hit somebody hard, you're gonna get the woo. You know, it's always called a woo hit because the fans will, and then the flag comes out 10 seconds later. Oh, that looked too violent. Let me throw a flag.
It's funny too. Like when I was growing up, I always wanted to be a defensive player because you got to hit the quarterback like that. You got to lay out people, and now you can't do it. It's just different.
You got body weight. You can't go low. You can't go high. You're going a million miles an hour. You got a target that's this big.
Yeah. You got to tell these guys, oh, you got to put the reins back. I don't know how they do it.
We're a stupid society as a whole.
You're not breaking any news there, Joe.
Yeah, exactly.
We're stupid. If COVID didn't prove that to everybody, and I know there's a bunch of people that want to recede into the bushes like Homer Simpson.
Yeah.
You know.
That's so true.
I saw one of the swimmers, you know, where 20-year-old completely healthy people, they're forcing them to wear a mask in a swimming pool. I mean, we delved into the level of stupidity that has never existed before.
You could argue it was a social experiment to see how stupid we really are, and boy, did they confirm.
I think all you gotta do is go on X to see how stupid we really are, guys.
Don't go to the beach. Remember those days? Don't go into the sun in the beautiful air. Stay in a confined area with other sick people. Yeah, that's a good idea.
Oh man, John, the more you say it now, it's like what were people actually thinking in that era?
I'm telling you, our last normal year was 2019 and everything changed.
Yeah. Yeah, and everything has. I mean, the amount of mental illness they caused with young people, and you know, not learning how to. I don't know. I was going up on this tangent, but I'm here.
Yeah, I'm ready for it. Let's
not learning how to communicate with other people. I just.
I tell you what, and you're seeing the effects now with a lot of younger people. I mean, you got people who talk all day on like the internet, but then when you say hi to them in person,
they can't make eye.
They shit themselves. They can't
make eye contact with it. It's unbelievable.
And you know, I come from an area, like I coach in an area where it really didn't affect the younger people that much, like the high school kids. I'm hoping that we're starting to go back in the right direction, because like we had a bunch of 14-year-olds on our team this year, high school freshmen. They say, "Hey, what's up, coach? How you doing, coach?" Like, I'm like, "Oh yeah, that's right. You guys are like 7 or 8 when COVID hit." I forget. Like maybe we're shifting back.
Personally, the days with the trackers. Were you there during the tracker days, Jeff?
I was there during the tracker days. I remember the tracker.
Oh my God, that was fucking hilarious. If you get within 6 feet of somebody, it beep, beep, beep.
Yeah,
beep.
beep, beep, beep.
Oh my God.
I was like, "Oh, John, don't want to get too close to you today."
Out fucking doors. Beep, beep, beep. Man, I would take that damn thing.
I have a lot of funny things I've heard over the years, and I think the whole "I'm not getting this because the government's going to track me." I'm like, the government tracked you on one of these.
Wait. This comment, as we talk about this dumb, crazy area, Jerry says nothing is crazier than the people by themselves driving with a mask. That was like the funniest part.
I've never seen that.
Pull
Like,
up to a car
what?
and there'd be some Karen lady like with a mask on her face, and there's nobody in the car.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, I was never pro or anti-mask guy. I just kind of did it. But like, yeah, I wouldn't be driving with a mask on. That impeded vision.
Unbelievable.
Oh, it's funny. All right, we got to get off. We got to get off.
Yeah, we gotta
That's
get off the
funny.
tangent
That
here.
is funny. All right, Jeff. What's your
I-
final thought on week 1 of free
Oh,
agency
man.
for the Eagles?
I mean, I don't think it was good, but I don't think it was bad. Like, am I bummed Jalen Phillips is gone? Yeah, but there's always a walkaway number, and like I said earlier, they found it. I don't think I would have paid him, but now they need an edge rusher.
Right now they need an edge.
Yeah, probably need a safety. Again, we're back to the conversation we were at last year, and where John and I are complaining. They don't have the guy that they need. They gotta find it.
Yeah, we'll see what they do.
Jonathan
thank you.
Goedert.
There you go.
I mean, you would hope, right?
He just got a NFLPA executive committee too. Good dude.
Yeah, I did see
Smart
that.
dude.
Not the Jonathan Goedert news people want to hear today.
No.
No. Well, maybe there'll be more coming. We'll see what ends up happening with Jonathan Goedert. Jeff, thanks for doing it today, brother. We love it. We appreciate you doing it and giving us all the time you do each and every single week. We will talk to you again next week, and we'll see how much has changed by this time next week. A lot changed in the last week since we talked to you, brother. Thanks for doing it today.
Yeah, sounds great. Last week was probably the Christmas for a lot of NFL people. Now it's going to calm down a bit.
Yep, no doubt. All right, Jeff, thank you, man.
See you guys.
See ya.
Thanks, man. There's Jeff Kerr joining us right here on Birds 365. Great stuff from Jeff Kerr. Appreciate him doing it. We have about another segment left to go here on Birds 365. Johnny Mack, we're going to talk about what's upcoming here for the Philadelphia Eagles, what the roster looks like after the additions. I saw you put out the free agency tracker for the Philadelphia, or the offseason tracker, I should say, for the Philadelphia Eagles. We'll take a look at that. And then just kind of what they're doing from here. I want to thank everybody for being here. Let me rip some super chats, and then we will close up, get into our last segment. Stanley A says this: AJ's best football is behind him. He isn't worthy of this. And he said, excuse the spelling on the way to work. Send him to Cleveland. Nice, Stanley.
And then you get Showtime Johnny on X. He's telling me, AJ is staying. Keep coping, losers. Can't fool me. He's sitting there. We're all trying
Sounds
to
like
fool
Dominique
you.
Dabney in our chat, John. That's the
we're trying to fool you. Yeah. Good luck, Johnny. Good luck, Johnny.
Here's Dirty D says this: God forbid football players work 12 months a year like the rest of us. That's true. But, it's different. They look, they're not making the money because it's coming from nowhere. So
yeah, you gotta realize your lot in life. There's more people that can do the average person's job that can do their job. So, I mean, they're paid at a high level because there's not a lot of people that can do it.
100%. And we all like watching them. So the money keeps going up. Can't get mad at them for that. Here's Sig Lord. J-Mac Brainbuster. What team did Randy Moss end with?
Oh, boy. He went to Raiders, Patriots, went back to the Vikings. Then he went back to the Patriots. Did he go anywhere else? Oh, San Francisco, I think. But
I didn't think he'd get you on the Brainbuster. Did he get you?
Maybe.
Sig Lord, you've delivered a couple what was the last Brainbuster Sig Lord delivered?
Oh no, he did. Yeah, he did end with San Francisco. So I got that right. But I missed Tennessee. He was with Tennessee for a short period.
Yep, San Fran, Sig Lord says. Sig Lord, thanks, brother. Appreciate the chat. Good brain buster. Here's Brando Shreds. What's up, Brando?
Forgot about Tennessee, man. Oof.
Yeah, he was in Tennessee. Brando says this: wouldn't AJ have the yards he wants had he not had constant knee and hammy injuries during the last 2 seasons? Hasn't he sabotaged himself to an extent?
It's not yards, man. It's
he did miss 1 game in 23, 4 games in 24, and 2 games last year, regular season games. So 7 games in the last 4 years, regular season, plus the playoff game, 8.
He just wants the ball. Just wants the ball. It's not about yards. It's not about touchdowns. It's not about anything other than when the opportunity is there, give him the opportunity.
Yeah, but you can't. I mean, I know you say it's not about the yards, but you can't rack up that many yards without getting opportunities, John. Now, maybe they're not as good as what AJ wants, and maybe he does want the ball to come out a little quicker. I will again go back to my remark. AJ, I don't think it's going to get that much better.
I think I think he's tortured to the fact that it could be 9 times and it's right. And if the 10th time isn't right, he's going to be upset. And if the ball doesn't come out when it's supposed to come out, and it's happened, look, it's not about the first 2 years, number one. So I think, it's about the last 2 years. It's about since when Saquon got here. And it's not Saquon's fault. I'm not picking on Saquon, but they went.
Well, it's a part of it, though. Yeah, I mean, the guy went crazy, and they didn't have as many passing yards.
They went more heavy, the run heavy, and it doesn't look like it's slowing down. So forget about the first 2 years. Number one, if that kept going, you'd probably be fine. He'd still have his little upset in certain games and yada, 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 but you'd be fine. But over the last 2 years, it's changed dramatically. And anybody who thinks it hasn't is lying to themselves. He doesn't want to be a part of that anymore, which is, happens all the time in the NFL. It's not like it's unique. Players, get upset because of different things and they don't want to be somewhere. And
Yeah,
I think
get
that's where
that.
you are. I think that's where you are. That's where you are. It happens.
We'll see. We'll see what ends up happening. Here's Pumper. What's up, Pump? He says this, J-Mac, have we gotten any updates on Project 89? The Eagles' success in 2026 will weight heavily on the availability of Mr. JW, Mr. Johnny Wilson.
We have not gotten any updates. But, Johnny's young. I assume he'll be back and he'll be a part of it. And if they are going to run stretch as much as we expect them to, I think he'll be a big part of it as, a role player, nothing more. Similar to what he was before.
What injury did he have last year, John? Was it an ACL? No. What did he have?
I never got clarity on it, but it was a significant leg injury to the point he had a big, giant brace on his entire leg. So I think it might have been multiple. But remember, it happened in training camp, so they didn't have to. They didn't have to clarify what the injury was, and they never.
Yeah, and it was. Clarified. You're right, though. It was both. I mean, this says I don't know how this is from an ESPN. Says the injury required surgery to address both knee and ankle issues, placing him on season-ending injury reserve.
So it was entire. It was bad, and I can't tell you the exact. I think it might have been a broken fibula and torn ACL type of thing, but that's just speculation.
Yeah, we'll see what ends up happening with Johnny Wilson. Pump, thanks for the super chat, brother. I know you're a big Project 89 guy. Here's Pim. What's up, Pim? Hey, J-Mac, now you're back on this TO drop thing. No way is AJ better than Terrell Owens. You're nuts.
Well, as I said, you get the point. You're welcome to try to find somebody else who drops 17 passes in a season. Go find them. And ask yourself why you think somebody who drops 17 passes in a season is top 4 and drops eight times in the NFL. Why you think he's a great receiver? Because you've been told, and as the kids say, you don't know ball. At pin 9617.
You do think not Randy Moss. You do think that T.O. is a good receiver, right?
Yeah. But he's not. He doesn't belong in the category that people put him in. And it's about more of the other stuff. The personality, the enigma, the size. He became larger than life, and people are going, the guy's dropping the football all over the fucking place.
I know you're not a yards guy, but John, 16,000 career receiving yards, third in touchdowns, 153 touchdowns.
Okay. Yeah, how long did he play?
I don't know how long he played.
Those numbers express longevity, which is impressive. But again,
You're talking about at the top of his game. Yeah. Okay.
Compiling statistics. He was a huge big play threat. Always his entire career. Was he the most consistent receiver in the world? No. When you start talking about the best receiver, and the best receiver is Jerry Rice, he was a big play threat. He caught everything. He did everything. He ran the whole route tree. That's when you're talking about the best of all time. All I said was he doesn't belong in that fucking conversation. And anybody who believes he belongs in the conversation with Jerry Rice is fucking clueless.
Well, we'll see. Well, we know we won't see. It's history at this point. You're entitled to that opinion. Here's Vitality says this: better late than never for my obligatory Brandon Mann appreciation super chat. Big deal for the big man. Yes, it is. 4 year, 14 million, 7 mil guaranteed. Big deal for the punter, Johnny Mac.
Yeah, I was a little bit surprised the Eagles went that. That's the longest, deepest, most expensive contract they've given to a punter in the Howie Roseman era. And yeah, he deserves it. He had a great season. Already has a number of Eagles records as far as gross yardage in season, net yardage in the season. So good holder, which is something overlooked until you have troubles with it.
That's very true.
So yeah, they should have brought him back. I'm surprised they gave him 4 years, but good for Braden.
Yep, good stuff there for Vitality. Vitality, thank you, brother. Braden Mann gets a big deal in Philadelphia, one of the deals from last week. So good stuff there. John, as we move in, we got about 20 minutes left on the show today. We're in phase 2 now of free agency. We're 6 weeks away from the NFL draft, as that thing is on the horizon here. We got some pro days this week. I think Penn State's pro day is this week. There's a couple other schools that have their pro day this week. So keep your eye on that if you're into the NFL draft and some of the players coming out of those schools. John, what's next for this team? They got to address edge, safety, and some other spots. Obviously wide receiver, tight end, but maybe less needed for like a tight end because they just brought back Dallas Goedert. What do you think is next for this Eagles team? And is there one of those positions that they should wait for the NFL draft, or is the draft proofing of the roster not done yet?
No, it's definitely not done. You're always, and the fact that they've gone after Darnell Mooney tells you they're looking for a receiver to sort of draft-proof things, further draft-proof things. Edge, they have to bring in somebody. So those are safety as well. You don't want to be in a position where you feel you have to take something at some point in the draft. So, it wouldn't surprise me if they default to Marcus Epps, at safety with wide receiver, Christian Kirk's still out there. That's a player they had interest in. There's still some players out there. AJ Epinesa, that's a shocker. He's out there. I don't know if you want to bring in 2 edges like that, though, because you already have Ebiketie. You need more of a headliner there. But there's still some values to have in free agency. And the Eagles will be looking for them. They're not done. They're not done by any stretch.
Well, we'll see what they end up doing there, John. When it comes to the edge, what's the move here for edge, John, to get better? I mean, they lose Jalen Phillips, $30 million. I get it. Big deal. Don't want to go that high on that player. Understand. But now what's the plan? What's the replacement strategy to make your football team better for the 26th season?
Well, I would think it's the trade market. And the easiest one would be Grenard. We'll see.
What do you think of that fit? I hear a lot about the name, but what about the football side of it? You think it fits with Vic? Do you think that's the type of edge rusher Vic would want? I mean, a lot of things you add about Jalen Phillips, John, in context, I think people miss, because Vic likes the player that kind of can do it all, can set the edge, can do the things that, maybe make life easier in the interior for Jalen Carter and Jordan Davis, things like that aren't as easily visible to the eye. Does Grenard fit?
Well, I don't think he fits as well as Phillips, but Vic has proven that he will take advantage of what a player does well. I think he's, more of a natural pass rusher, so I think the fans will like him than Phillips. But I think Phillips is better at the other stuff. So, but they're at a stage where not a lot of options. I mean, you guys brought up Jared Verse. I'm like, you're not getting Jared Verse, but could you get Byron Young? How about that? No, I don't think the Eagles want to trade AJ Brown to the Rams no matter what. But a young edge rusher like Byron Young, that's you got to find that wheelhouse. If it's not going to be Grenard. And I don't think, I don't think you're getting a Jalen Phillips at this point. But I don't think many fans realize how good Jalen Phillips was. So part of that will take care of itself. But they're probably not going to be as good because they weren't able to get him. But I can't blame them. I can't pay that. I can't pay him $30 million either. So it's a difficult decision. It didn't work their way.
You think just the Eagles can't pay him, or do you think $30 million is the right number for that player though?
Well, you got it, so it is.
Not everybody that gets it.
By definition, it is. But no, I don't think he's a $30 million player. But I don't think Max Crosby's a $30 million. I don't think Trey Hendrickson's a $30 million player, and Trey didn't get 30. I mean, I think there's two guys I'd feel comfortable with, and that's it, paying that money, and that's Miles and Micah, and that's it. End of sentence. So
well, Mike is getting a lot more than 30. He's getting like 40. Yeah. What's he getting? 46, 42?
Yeah. And that's probably too much.
That is nuts, man. What was it? Was it 46 or was it 42?
I'd have to look it up.
Let me look. I'm looking at it. 4-year, $188 million, $47 million annually. That's crazy.
I mean, that I wouldn't go that far, but
120 fully guaranteed.
Yeah, I wouldn't go that far. But I'm trying to look at things as a general manager, as a fan. It's not your money, so you shouldn't care. But when you're trying to, obviously, if you're paying somebody that much money, you're impacting other areas in your ability to build the team as a whole. So I'm not sure I like that from that standpoint. And I think by and large, because of the nature of the position, they tend to get overpaid, like most quarterbacks get overpaid. You have the few good quarterbacks you're comfortable with getting the money they get. It's a very, very short number. And then you got a bunch of guys who are just vastly overpaid because of the value of the position. Well, edge rushers, number 2 on that list, as far as paying guys. And most of those guys are overpaid because everybody values the position so much. And that's just the cost of doing business, but doesn't mean you have to do it. And can you cobble, can they cobble it together with Jalix Hunt and Nolan Smith and Arthur Ebiketie and somebody else? Maybe.
What's the projection on Nolan Smith this year? Like what's the expectation, I guess, would be a better question.
Well, I think the expectation should be be healthy for 17 games if possible. And if that, he's a good player. I think if he stays healthy, but
I know it just feels like nobody, fans, report, anybody is considering him as a viable 1 or 2 edge rusher. That's what it feels like to me. Like you would think we wouldn't say, oh, one of the biggest holes on the roster right now is the edge rusher.
Well,
it is. And that's largely because of the evaluation of Nolan Smith so far. Well,
the Eagles made it very clear that Jalen Phillips was their priority. So their definition by what they were prepared to pay, which was about $25 million, was that Jalen Phillips was the number 1 edge rusher. And then you look at it, well, Jalen Hunt's playing better, he's healthier. I don't know if he's playing better. They're both playing at a similar level, but he's healthier. And I think people saw him kind of surpass Nolan because of some of the injury issues. I actually think right now Nolan's still a better player. But I think Jalix has a better upside, bigger upside. So I think everybody kind of put him in the rearview mirror, but now he's more important again. So if you have to rely on him, it becomes even more. But that second, so talking about edge rushers, I pulled it up. So, I mean, Hunter's really good. Watt's been really good, but, at this age, I think Watt's descending. Crosby, Bosa with the injuries. Those are the top level guys. And then you get to Jalen Phillips at 30. And then behind Jalen Phillips is Josh Hines-Allen, Brian Burns, Trey Hendrickson, Nick Bonito, Adofi Owe, Montez Sweat, Andrew Van Ginkel, George Karlaftis, John Franklin Myers, Gregory Rousseau. Of all those guys, other than Van Ginkel, and the only reason I put Van Ginkel aside is because he does so much more. He's not just an edge rusher. I don't want to pay any of them. Maybe Nick Bonito. All those names I just gave you. You want to pay any of those guys?
I'd rather pay Nick Bonito than Jalen Phillips.
Well, I don't want to pay Jalen. I count Jalen Phillips in that category. I don't want to pay him 30. I would have paid him 25. I mean,
Josh Hines-Allen, he can play. He's better than Jalen Phillips. Better pass rusher than Jalen Phillips. But
I think you're focused on pass rush, which is fine. But I want a more well-rounded player. Like a bunch of these guys can get to the passer. I mean, Trey Hendrickson can get to the fucking passer. I mean, nobody's proven it more than that guy. But yeah, he's not the most well-rounded player. If it's just about, situational, maybe the NFL has to change their philosophy and it's just about getting sacks, maybe turn this on its head and go, hey, you're a situational pass rusher. We're going to pay you $15 million, but they'll never do that, obviously.
Yep, no doubt. All right, good stuff. We'll talk about more of that. John, another topic I want to tease for later in the week this week is, you mentioned it to me yesterday, and I thought the comments were interesting. We got to talk about these void years and this salary cap and the contract and the way that the Eagles are doing business. And, maybe if the Eagles have gone too far with it, you've brought up, I mean, they're putting 4 or 5 void years on a 1-year deal. It's one thing to do it on your big contracts. Do you want to do that on every 1-year contract you sign? Does it eventually come back to bite you? Is it something that's a reason the Eagles have to do business the way they are right now? So we're going to have that conversation later in the week, Johnny Mac. That's going to be a good one. I'm interested to see what you have to say about that. So definitely get ready for that one, J Mac.
Yeah. The 1-year deals, I'm like, what are we doing here with 1-year deals? I mean, it's okay with the higher paid players, obviously. It's needed if you want to be successful. So not talking about the Jalen Hurtses of the world or, the guys, everybody who signed a big time contract. There it's understandable. The 1-year deals, like they got void money on Ojulari. You know, it's like,
Yeah.
it's like, really, you know. So maybe that part needs to be readjusted, but we need more time to talk about that.
Yeah, no, we're doing another show. We'll do a little business on there, John. I don't know if I told you. Stolness had something come up last week, so he's going to do tomorrow at 8:20. So we'll have John Stolness on tomorrow morning at 8:20.
All right, good. We'll talk to Johnny Stolness about what is going on. Always has some interesting thoughts about how to frame things. And now I'm looking at the Eagles cap. The top 51 cutoff right now is the great Danny Gray, who's making $1.005 million. Everybody else, well, there's a couple guys, so they just picked Danny Gray. Andre Sam, Carson Steele, Cam Latu have the same contract. So all those guys, but you only have to count one of them. The guys under are Cam Williams, Miles Hinton, Holland Pierce, Jake Majors, Gabe Hall, Grant Calcaterra. Well, not Grant, because they put the placeholder in. They don't have his contract yet. He'll be well above that. So to give you an example, that's a good example. So when Grant probably signed a veteran minimum deal, so when his deal is announced or official, that means Danny Gray is knocked off the top 51, and Grant Calcaterra, whatever he's making, say he's making 1.3 or whatever it is, you lose $245,000 in cap space. That's how it works. You got to cut off that last guy and take the difference between him jumping into the top 51.
Right. We'll see. All right, John, a couple super chats here to wrap up the show today. I like this one from Skywalk. Skywalk checks in. He says this. Hi, John and Z. Have either of you had a bone-in filet mignon? I'm a ribeye guy, but man, they are good.
No, not a bone-in one. I've had plenty of. I love filet mignons. I cook them all the time, but never a bone-in one. No.
Yeah, I've had a bone-in, John. I had one bone-in filet mignon at a steakhouse in Houston, Texas.
Nice.
For my brother's birthday. It was. Yeah, the steak in Texas is unbelievable. Yeah. Obviously, the amount of cattle and stuff they have down there. But bone-in. What was that place called? I'll give them a free plug. Vic and Anthony's is what it was called in Houston, Texas. Skywalk. I had a bone-in filet mignon for my brother's birthday. We had a nice meal together, and that's what I got. It was as good as you would expect. Skywalk. A lot of flavor. Here's Kimberly says this. T.O. is like LeBron and MJ. It took LeBron 7 more years to pass it.
No, LeBron's one of the greatest. No, I'm not going to go down that road.
No, you're a LeBron guy.
LeBron's in the legitimate conversation of best player who ever lived.
Would you put him above Jordan?
No, I always try. He's a more well-rounded player, similar. I'm a big well-rounded guy in every sport. Yeah. You can do everything. There's
no doubt LeBron can do everything, man. LeBron's a beast. Oracle Brian Pumper says, at this point, what's so wrong with drafting an edge rusher? TJ Parker, Zion Young, R. Mason Thomas, etc. Fellas, if we pay interior, we need cheap edges.
Nothing wrong with it. I don't think they have to go more offense, but I'm not in love with the players, number one, that you just mentioned. You're not going to have a centerpiece. They're not. I don't think they're ready to be a centerpiece of the edge rushing situation. The Eagles need a centerpiece. They need a guy who's playing 60 snaps effectively, like Jalen Phillips was doing at the end of last year. That's not going to be one of those guys. And they're maybe in 2-3 years, but not right away. Certainly with Vic. And they need more immediate help, I would say, on the edge.
Yep, good stuff there. Pump, thank you, brother. Appreciate it. Good super chats today. Thanks, everybody, for being here. Johnny Mac, your final thoughts here on a Monday edition of the show as we move into phase 2 of NFL free agency is now opened up, so players can sign at any time, and there are more free agents available. We'll see who the Eagles add. In the draft,
the smart teams. It's where the smart teams make some hay, man.
Yeah.
Get some good 1-year deals.
The Eagles didn't do great in phase 2 and 3 last
did
year.
not.
They signed a lot of players, but then none of them really. I guess Adoree was probably the best one, right? I mean, in terms of contributor to the team.
It's also my prediction, but yes, he was. And it took him a while to get there. I think Josh Uche was playing pretty well too, but that was just circumstance. They talked, because they were trying to get better. They got Zadarius here, and he retired, and they talked Brandon Graham out of retirement. Then they traded for Jalen Phillips, and there was no spot for him to play. But I thought he was okay. But yeah, most of their Tamu signings last year did not work out, and they've upped that. They're working. They moved out of the clearance aisle, and at least are looking for values. Woolen $12 million. Ebikadi can make up to 7.5 or something like that, whatever it was, but a little bit higher range, but obviously not drastic signings. Say the
Good
least.
stuff. Johnny Mac, good show today, my man. Appreciate you doing it as always, and we will talk to you tomorrow on a Tuesday edition. You think they make any signings today, John?
Yeah, why not? Sure. Yeah, let's say.
Oh, and they're telling me in the chat, I got to tell you, happy 3/16 day, John. I guess that's Stone Cold. Yeah, Stone Cold.
March 16th, didn't know. Yeah, thank you for making me.
There you go, Philly Don. Good stuff.
3/16 day.
There
Greatest wrestling promo of all time. And the reason why? Because it made money. That's why.
Yep, no doubt. Johnny Mac, good show, brother. I'll talk to you tomorrow.
All right, thanks all.
All right, thanks, Jim Mac. There's Johnny Mac. John McMullen joining us right here on Birds 365. Good show today, everybody. Not a long Zander time on the horizon. I do have some things I got to get done here this morning, but I do appreciate everybody being here today. Thanks to our super chatters for the super chats that they sent in on the show today. All right, got a lot of people in here, so don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel if you're not already. I wanted to read to you guys a couple comments that I got on Tariq Woolen from the Seattle guys that I had on the Clips channel. So we have the Clips channel. If you guys don't know, definitely go and check it out. It's like shorter form content from JAKIB. I take 8 to 10 minute clips of our shows and I post them up. We talk about a lot of topics in a given day. We talk about AJ, Devonta, everything. So I post them all up as shorter form segments on the Clips channel. And we had a couple on Tariq Woolen, and I had several guys come in from and not that their comments mean everything, but I do think they're relevant or at least interesting from the Eagles fans to hear. So I'll read a couple of them to you guys. Ready? Here's the first one. We have like 3 or 4 in a row here. Bud Osmoka says this. I'm a Seahawk fan and a Tariq Woolen fan. He started off as a big play corner and he gets his hands on a lot of balls. Second year tackling became an issue for him. And when McDonald got here, Woolen got in the doghouse because of his weak tackling. Tariq improved that and seemed to be all right with Mike. This year, Woolen was good, but enough for this defense. It seemed like all the big plays from the opponent, which wasn't much besides the Rams and the Bucs. The personal fouls in the playoffs sealed his fate in Seattle. Same thing with DK last year. Reek could be great if he can eliminate the dumb post-play actions, continue improving tackling, and find his first-year big play ability. His best games are the ones where you don't notice he's playing. I think he's a really good number 2 cornerback. I think that's pretty good comments there. Here's S. Migmal says, from a Seahawks fan, he checks out at times. It's that simple. He has elite skills, but he gets bored and undisciplined. He starts looking at other routes, even cheating a bit. Then he loses his responsibilities. QBs and play callers respect him, but they know he can be got. And I believe that by now, over Woolen's time in the league, a book has been developed on him in terms of setting him up. Eagles have him on a 1 year. That was the smart deal to give Woolen. It might keep him more focused based on the uncertainty of his future. All right. So that was 2 good comments we got from Seattle. I'm trying to find the others. We had a bunch of them, but I had a bunch of them. I can't find them all. They're all. YouTube did this new weird thing. It used to just show me the comments in order, and now they've come up with this bullshit thing where like they think they can tell me what the most relevant comments are. So I have to I have to like manually search for comments nowadays. It's brutal. But so there's a couple of the comments that we got on Tariq Woolen, which I think is, not a bad thing. Not a bad thing. If he's got that big playability, and I think Vic Fangio can get him going. How's everybody doing here in the chat? How's everybody's weekend? Abe says, nah, Zander, we need an M. Reyes type of level for a Seahawk to talk about him. That's true. Dude was in Seattle. You can kill a man in Seattle and nobody get in trouble. I don't know what you're talking about. F that Reek shit. I'm calling him Tariq until he proves himself. That's fine by me. All right. Reek is an upgrade. Agreed, Twiz. No matter how you slice it. I agree with that, Twiz. Damn, I didn't expect the truth, Zander, from Seattle fans. That's the truth. Yeah, I think that's pretty fair. I did hear this too. Heard Slice say he would only play for Philly. Any chance? No, they got corners now, dude. They got corners for days. We got corners for days. So I don't think that's something. But I am curious to see what the Eagles do this week at the edge rusher. What's the deal with the edge rusher? Do they try and address it? I don't think they're going to push it to the draft. I mean, I understand where Pumper's coming from. You're going to have two guys. You know what I think might come this week? I think the Jalen Carter extension might come this week, which is going to be massive. All right, going to be massive. So I think that could come this. I think that could come this week. We'll see. We will see. Yeah, it's something that I never kind of rubbed in to John, but I could have. How many times did I say this offseason I thought they were going to bring back Dallas Goedert? And John's like, nah, they gave him a pay cut last year. He's not coming back. So. Afraid of they just spent $12 million on a second corner, and they have Cooper DeJean and Quinyon Mitchell, who are two all-pros. I don't think they're going corner shopping, my friend. You can slice it however you want, my friend. I said they got two all-pros, not Pro Bowlers, all-pros. All right, and they just paid $12 million to Tariq Woolen. They're not going corner shopping. I promise you, they're not corner shopping right now. What about safety? That's a big one too, Hart. That's a big one too. Who's replacing Reed, and do you feel confident about Makuba? I think that's a fair question too. J-Mac knows, Zander. He doesn't want to give you your flower. I know he doesn't. That's all right, though. I don't need them. Your flowers are worth nothing to me. I don't need the flowers. Here's Keese. I was surprised Dallas didn't have hard feelings about that pay cut. Keese, you're on that J-Mac. You're on that J-Mac cope. Oh, my gosh, Rasputin. Don't even remind me of Byron Maxwell. What did we give him, like a 5-year deal? All right. I'm out on that. All right, guys, I got to run. I'm not going to be here long today on Zander Time. Thanks for doing it, everybody. I thought we had a good show today, a good Monday show. The Goedert news came down yesterday. I'm happy about the Goedert re-signing. I think that's a good move for the Eagles to have Dallas Goedert coming back, especially with all new coaches. You don't want all new coaches and all new skill position players. I mean, I know Jalen gets criticism from some people in the fan base, but if you have all new coaches and all new players, I mean, what do you want Jalen to do? He's got all new players, all new coaches. I mean, shit, I don't think there's many quarterbacks who would thrive in that. So I think bringing back the players is a good thing for Jalen Hurts and for the coaches as well. So we'll see what they're able to do this year. Good show, guys. Thanks, everybody, for being here. Don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel if you're not already. Check out the Clips channel if you haven't, and if you like it. All right, so we got the YouTube partner program rocking on that channel, so that's pretty cool. Thanks, everybody, for doing it. See you next time, everybody.